Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. Today I'm doing the spoiler tag. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the spoiler tag, the extraordinary original tag by Scott and Nell over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. So we'll see how this goes, because I don't have very many opinions about spoilers, but I wanted to join in on the fun. So question number one, all the questions will be down below in the description box. Question number one is, what do you consider a spoiler? So yeah, it's kind of hard to spoil things for me. So I think a spoiler, like a true spoiler for me, would have to be something where if I am told it would ruin my enjoyment of the book. But that's weird because things don't I don't really care if I know a lot about the book going in. I mean, I do try not to know too much about the book going in anytime I'm reading a new book, just because, that journey of discovery is what I like. But yeah, if I'm reading a murder mystery, for example, and somebody tells me that person X died or person Y did the thing, it's often just not even, I don't think it would even be very disappointing, because part of the whole magic is finding out the story and how the author tells it and what journey the characters go on to get to whatever the thing is that got spoiled. So I have gone into books before where I know what's going to happen. And I've totally enjoyed them. So it's kind of hard to spoil things. But so yeah, a definition of a spoiler would be something that could ruin my enjoyment of a book or really dramatically reduce it if I know it, but it's pretty hard to do that to me. Question number two, does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? And I think I did mention mystery books in the previous question. I think it's easier to imagine maybe a spoiler happening for me in a genre like a mystery or a thriller. Something where there do tend to be a lot of twists. And so some of the build up to the twist and then the emotional release when it happens, that could be potentially spoiled. So maybe the genre matters a bit there. But I don't intend to read those books as much. So with the ones that I do read, it just feels kind of hard to spoil. Question number three, all the best bits are in the trailer. Sometimes a synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them, or do you go in blind? So I mentioned earlier that I do like to know a little bit less about books when I go in. It's not a huge deal. But especially with things like fantasy, a lot of what can make the book so good is the world building and having things revealed to you. And a synopsis can go a couple different ways. It can either actually be useful for just doing a little bit to set you up initially for being introduced to the world. But a synopsis can also kind of reveal things before the author really intended to reveal them. I think that's maybe the difference between a really well done synopsis versus a different one. So especially with fantasy, I do tend to want to go in blind and just go based on somebody said this is a really good story. And then not know too much about it, because I want to encounter the world as the author wants to reveal it. And so I think that happens for me a little more commonly with fantasy, that I'll think a synopsis includes too much information than with things like, regular fiction or a romance or something where it's about the characters. Having the 3 words that define one character in a synopsis doesn't really ruin that enjoyment of having the author introduce me to the character, if that makes sense. It's a little more important for me when it's a world versus when it's a character, I think. All right, question number 4. Sometimes the introduction or translator's notes can spoil the ending, especially for classics. Has this ever happened to you? Yeah, although I'm not going to be able to think of a specific example because my brain doesn't hold on to details in that way, but I do often have that experience, especially with classics, because the introduction, it often has a brief biography of the author. And so, yeah, they usually give a lot away. And so going back to question number 1, I don't usually feel spoiled in that my enjoyment of the book is reduced, but that sort of material is something I'd usually rather read once I've finished the book. So I do tend to, I'll just kind of take a quick glance at that material and see if it really seems like something I want to read before the book or if I want to read after. So yeah, that's definitely happened. Question number 5, name a time somebody spoiled a novel for you. See, this is why this tag is like a little, like, it's fun to think about, but I'm not very interesting when it comes to spoilers. I can't think of anybody spoiling a novel for me. And I know people have let slip, like plot points or twists that have happened for certain books. I say certain books. I can't remember which books. Like I emotionally remember that experience. But I can't think of the books. But again, just going back to that word spoiled, it didn't spoil something. Like it's not something that I ever get upset about. It's just like, okay, now I have that piece of information going in and I'm going to see how the author reveals it in the story. And that's just a completely new experience compared to your friend giving away a plot point. So yeah, I have had that happen, but it didn't like spoil the book for me. Number 6, have you ever spoiled a novel for somebody else? I don't know. Nobody hates my guts. Related to that, maybe for other things, but not related to that. So I don't think so. I try to be really careful because I do, especially growing up, like some of my really close friends were readers as well. And we would like trade books and stuff. And so I think I did try really hard, and that also kind of impacts how I talk about books now, where I try really hard not to give things away that I think might spoil books for someone else, because I have been close with people who like really spoiling a book could be possible. All right, question number 7. If spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? Actually, I'm not entirely sure what that question means. Does that mean if somebody gives you like information where you feel like it'll ruin your enjoyment of the book, do you then not read that book or not read that author? So I think no. So again, I keep just coming back to, having that little bit of extra information, even if it's like a big point in the book or a big thematic point. There's just so much of the enjoyment of reading is just really reading how the author intended to communicate that and how the author built it up. Also, you might be realizing how bad my memory is. So I know I have had it happen before where like I did know a spoilery bit about a book, totally forgot it, read the book, the spoiler or the thing that was spoiled happened, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I did kind of know that was going to happen and I totally forgot. So 10 points for a faulty memory. But yeah, no, like I'll reread things. I'll read things that have been spoiled. It's all fine. Number 8, when reviewing, are you spoiler free? Does this limit your ability to discuss? So I try really hard to be spoiler free. I think, my personal definition of what I think might spoil something for somebody might be different. So that's, of course, always something I think we have to be on the lookout when we're watching YouTube videos or booktube videos, is just kind of knowing that might be a difference. So I do try really hard. If I've ever failed and spoiled something, or if I do in the future, y'all can yell at me. That's fine. Yeah, and I think there was one video where I kind of divided the video where the first part was spoiler free, and then I had like a very obvious interlude, and then I included some spoilers after that. And I think I've only done that for one video. I'll try to figure out which one it is and link it below if anybody's interested, because I don't remember which one it was, but I did do that one time. And I've seen other booktubers do that, and I actually really like that as a viewer, because if I haven't read the book, then I'm still watching the video. I'm still hearing the things you want to say about the book, but then I can leave before the spoiler part. Or if I have read the book, I can experience both parts of the video. So I do actually really like that dual format within the same video as a viewer. I don't know if other people do. Yeah. Okay, and no, I don't think trying to be spoiler-free limits my ability to discuss. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm the sort of reader where like I want to read books that other people have like good emotions about, and you usually have like emotions from a book, not because of one like specific thing that happened, but because of the quality of the writing, or the tone or the ambiance or the world building if it's fantasy, or you were just so in love with the characters, and like those sorts of things you can communicate to another reader without having to spoil anything. And so those are the sorts of things that I hope I try to focus on in my reviews, is more of those like thematic things that would be really compelling to someone who's reading the book, and less like very specific things that happened. I often even forget to do any kind of synopsis when I'm doing a review, just talking about how the book made me feel. So no, I don't think being spoiler free limits me. Okay. Cool. And then number 9 is a shout out. Talk about 5 channels you enjoy and then tag them. So I have a few more than 5. I just started going through my list, and I could just go through my list forever because I like all the channels that I follow. Anyway, so all of their links will be below. So first I want to shout out Laura at the Reading Mushroom. She has a pretty new channel, and she is in Germany but does her videos in English. And she reads a mix of things, a lot of fiction, a lot of fantasy. And she just started a series on German books, which I think is really cool. And the one she's done so far, I've never heard of it, so I learned something. I kind of want to read it. It sounded interesting. So that's cool to have a series, of books in another country. And then she also has mixed in a little bit of real talk so far. So she had a cool video on queer representation in books and why that matters. So I like that mix of like reviewing books, but also talking about the broader context of who's reading them, and who's the audience, who's the reading audience. So I think that's really great. Then John over at Hey Y'all Listen Up, who's tagged me a few times, and I generally don't tag other people, which I don't know, maybe I should. So I'm tagging you, John, because I'd love to know what you think about spoilers in reading. John is the master of very short reviews. A lot of his reviews will be like under 5 minutes, and they're just like succinct and concise. And I'm just like, yes, I want to read that, or no, I don't want to read that. And I just come away feeling like efficient and like I, learned something about a book. It's great. Then Amy over at A Star Reads, who is just funny and delightful and has a really cool TBR game using the Game of Life board game. She reads a lot of stuff, a lot of different genres, and just always has really great things to say about the books that she's read. Then Summer over at Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats. I could say some of the same things I just said about Amy. She's a really sweet person, I think has great thoughts about books, reads really widely. And I would love to know what she thinks about these spoiler questions. And then a brand new channel, Sarah, over at Sarah's Coffee Cup. She only has a few videos up, seems to read a mix of fiction and fantasy. But like Laura, she also has like a real talk video up already. So I like her book focused videos, and then she has a video on PTSD. And so I just like hearing some of those different experiences of other people who read and enjoy books, and just getting to know other readers well. So yeah, highly recommend Sarah's channel. And then 2 of my favorite booktube channels, Liz over at For Booking Out Loud, and Rosie over at Rosie Cockshut. They both read a huge variety of stuff, and I usually am just like, add to my TBR, add to my TBR, add to my TBR. And for both Liz and Rosie, I would love to know what you both think about spoilers. I think you might have opinions about this topic. I'm not sure, so I'm curious to know. And Liz in particular reads some books that I tend not to, some genres that I tend not to read, but would like to read more. So things like mysteries and thrillers and horror. And I think opinions about spoilers might be different, based on those genres, as I kind of talked about a little bit in question 2. So I'd be really curious about her opinions as well. Liz and Rosie are both really smart and have really insightful comments on all of the books that they read. So they are both great channels to check out as well. So with that, I will sign off. It's Thursday where I am, so happy Thursday, everyone. Almost the weekend. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, go and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.